It's time for Breaking Bread with Joe Piantedosi, where good conversation is always made fresh. And now, here's Joe.
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Breaking Bread. I'm Joe Piantedosi on this first weekend of February, and I'm here with Scott Whitley.
Yep, one step closer to spring.
I know. Well, yeah, we finished January. I can't believe it. January was always such a bad month. Now it's done. So
Right. And, the next couple of weeks, the temperature starts to get a little bit of a different feel. The sun's out a little bit
longer days, yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I don't like the cold. I don't like the snow anymore.
Yep, I know. We're done with it.
I loved it when I was in school because it could be a day off.
Snow days.
Yeah. Now do they get snow days anymore? They do homeschooling.
Yeah. It doesn't,
on the computer. I don't know how that works out anymore. But you're going to have a really great show today because I talked to your guests in private a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Well, my later guest, I'll talk about him first, is Donny Doward, Chef Donny. And he was the executive chef at the Hilltop for 30-something years. So
love the Hilltop. I get a lot of people when we go back memory lane on the restaurant show that I do on WRK on Sunday mornings. People will talk about the Hilltop and the Sioux City and the lines and, of course, the lobster pie.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, lobster.
More than the steak, there was the lobster pie that everybody talks about and remembers.
It was like $7.95, and it was like a pound and a half of lobster meat in this lobster pie with very little breadcrumbs.
Yeah, it was excellent. Excellent. I think it went up to like almost $40 before the Hilltop closed a couple of years back.
It started in $7. And you and your dad had a long-standing relationship with Lenny DeRosa.
Love Lenny.
From the Hilltop. He was the general manager and basically ran the show there for many, many years.
Yeah, just love Lenny, one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet. And, of course, one of the biggest restaurants really in New England, if not the East Coast, for so many years.
Yeah, it was the largest grossing restaurant. I think one year they hit $50 million in sales.
Wow.
$50 million.
Absolutely
in the 80s.
Incredible. Yeah.
So, and Donny Dowd was a part of that history. He's got a lot of stories to tell about it. But before that, I have a guest that I know you were intrigued by.
Yes, very intrigued by.
Yeah, Gianni Russo. He's the Hollywood Godfather.
I stayed on his good side,
Yeah,
Joe.
you did. You have to with Gianni. You never know. He's got connections still. But he was in the mob. He's been in movies. He's got a food company. And he's doing a show at Capo in South Boston in a couple of short weeks. And he's going to talk about that. And
so people can get tickets to see Gianni Russo coming up. He's going to talk a lot about, basically his whole life at that show.
Yep. Yeah, he shows clips and some songs, and he had relationships with Marilyn Monroe, Marlon Brando, Frank Sinatra. He talks about Sammy Davis Jr., Dean Martin.
Just a couple of name dropping time from time, right?
And it's so funny because you talk to him and he'll throw out these names, like I mentioned, Scott Whitley. Yep. He'll talk about Sinatra and Sammy, and it's just it's interesting to hear him, and he's the real deal.
All right. Well, that's coming up today, so don't go anywhere over the next hour because it's going to be very, very interesting.
Yep. Johnny and Donny. Both on Breaking Bread.
All right. Well, it's now time for Breaking Bread with Joe Piantedosi.
And my first guest on this first weekend in February has become a good friend over the years. He's a very famous, very talented man. You may not know his name when you first hear it, Gianni Russo, but a.k.a. he is the Hollywood Godfather. He was Carlo in the famous movie The Godfather. Been a frequent guest of Breaking Bread, and I'm proud to call him my good friend, Gianni Russo. Gianni, welcome back to Breaking Bread. How are you, sir?
I'm great, my friend. Thank you. Always great to talk to you.
It's been fun.
Jared's in the studio, I'm sure.
Jared's right here next to me, and
right.
we've enjoyed your company. We've broken bread with you several times. My wife and I had a delicious dinner at your beautiful apartment in New York City, and we've been out to dinner with you. Of course, you've been to Boston too. I mean, you become a great guy, and our listeners need to know. I mean, they're probably one of the most famous movies in movie history is The Godfather, and you were one of the stars of that movie.
Thank God. I mean, that was my acting debut, and who knew? It's worldwide now. It's amazing. And then I even tagged Godfather 2, which everybody thinks that was shot in one. That was never done. In fact, it's funny. I got more money for Godfather 2 than I did for Godfather 1.
And you died in
It was
Godfather
only
1, and they
day's
brought
work.
you back. They brought you back in 2. So that was great. But I mean, it's funny. I'll mention your name to people, and the first thing they mention is the fight scene with you and James Caan. That's
Oh, yeah. Well, it's interesting. That fight scene is really memorable, and I've heard every excuse of why the Phantom Punch and all of that. That was the editor's fault because Paramount was rushing that film to come out. They wanted it out in February. And while they were reviewing all the editing, no one noticed that punch until it was in the film. Now, 25 years later, we're doing an anniversary on The Godfather. And I asked Coppola, I said, why don't you fix the punch? This is cinema history. You cannot fix anything in a movie that's won an Oscar. You touch the negative, it disqualifies it.
no kidding.
Did you know that?
I had no idea
Yep.
of that. Wow. Even Jared, did you? You probably Jared's a movie buff, and he had no idea of that either. You know what I love, Johnny? So my wife Julie and I visited your beautiful condo there in New York City, and one of the most memorable things in the apartment was the garbage can cover that you have proudly
I made sure I got one of those.
proudly displayed in your foyer. It was great.
Yeah.
Talk about movie memorabilia. But now during
It's so funny you should say.
go ahead.
It's funny you're saying about memorabilia. My grandkids come here, and the only cover of any magazine I've been on, and believe me, my ego, I want to be on a lot of them. The only cover I was on was February 1972, was Mad Magazine.
Really, Mad Magazine. That is funny.
It was the bridal scene. They put it on the cover.
That's funny. That's funny. But I mean, it's and during that actual fight scene, you told me you actually broke a couple of ribs, right?
Well, Jimmy Caan did it. I mean, Jimmy had, he was so angry with me because he thought once they brought me in, and Coppola had nothing to do with that. This was something they worked out with organized crime in New York with Joe Colombo, and my reward was I got a part. I never acted before in my life. So then Coppola came in, and Coppola wanted Al Pacino. Originally, your audience don't know this, originally James Caan was supposed to play Michael. But Coppola said, if you want me to direct it, I want Pacino. I just saw him in his first and only movie, Panic in Needle Park. And the guy was brilliant. So now Jimmy gets moved to Sonny, and Sonny was originally Carmine Caridi in a play from Broadway because they thought Sonny should be this big guy, and Carmine Caridi was that person. So with all that rearranging, Jamie got the smaller part. We killed him in the middle of the movie. He never went on again. And he held it against me.
Well,
when he had the opportunity to give me the beating, he did.
Someone has to be blamed. But it's movie history, and my God, it's and your career from that movie was the springboard for you to go on to. I mean, you sing. People, and what I want to hype is the fact that you're quite an accomplished singer. I mean, you can act, but you can sing.
Well, that happened later on because I wound up doing 46 motion pictures, and the movies won 9 more Oscars. I mean, Seabiscuit was a great movie. The Freshman was a great movie. Striptease with Demi Moore. I mean, I had a career that I never thought would happen, but thank God it did. And then Sinatra said to me one night in my own clubs in State Street, because they all came. In fact, he opened State Street for me.
In Las Vegas.
He said, in Las Vegas. And he said, you got a good voice. Whenever you have time, come out to the Springs and I'll give you some tips. So that's how I mention all the time that Marlon Brando was my only acting teacher. Frank Sinatra was my only singing teacher.
Yeah.
Basically, now I'm singing all over the world.
Now, didn't Frank hold you underwater or something to help you sing? What was the?
It was funny because when I called Dorothy at the office, I said, the old man said I could come by and get singing lessons. He said, well, let me look at his calendar. So he should come Tuesday to the Springs, get there after 2. She said, bring a bathing suit. I said, Dorothy, I said, I want to learn how to sing, not swim. I said, I don't know. He said, bring a bathing suit. So now I show up at the house. Harry opens the door. He looks at my hands. He says, where's your bathing suit? I said, what's with the bathing suit? I want to sing, not sing. He told me, go to the cabana and put on a bathing suit. Take one in there. They're all clean. And here he comes with the cup of coffee, the sink, the white silk pajamas on. And he said, and he drags the chair over to the pool. He says, get in the pool. I said, what's with the pool? He said, let me tell you something. Tommy Dorsey taught me one thing when I was at the Dorsey Band, breathing. I can never tell when this guy was breathing and he'd sustain notes on his trombone. So he taught me to breathe. Your lower diaphragm first, fill that up. Then your upper diaphragm. That's why you can phrase and sustain notes. And that's what we did for 3 days.
Nope. Just
breathe. Then we started singing.
Let me ask you, did you swim, though, too? Did you do any swimming while you were there?
No, I didn't swim at all. I can't swim.
You can't swim?
People...
You can act, you can sing, you can tell stories, you can't swim? You can cook? You cooked for me.
If you read my book, I had polio until I was 12.
That's true. I knew
Cripples can't swim.
Well, anyway, you know what? I am so excited because we're going to talk about a big event coming here in Boston in just a couple of short weeks, and it's going to star you at a very a great place in Boston, at Capo in South Boston, and you're performing, and I want to talk about the date and what you're going to be doing, but we're going to take a quick break. You listen to Breaking Bread. I'm Joe Piantedosi speaking with the famous Gianni Russo, and we'll be right back.
And remember, you can always keep up on all things Breaking Bread with Joe Piantedosi on his Facebook page. That's Breaking Bread with Joe Piantedosi. And you can always follow him here each and every weekend.
Hey, it's me, Joe Piantedosi from Breaking Bread Radio. It may be the winter season, but you can still enjoy yourself at Victory Point at Marina Bay in Quincy. Grab a piping hot slice of pizza at Boardwalk Pizza. Sit inside at the expansive bar and order a craft cocktail. Or grab a table and have a gourmet dinner prepared to you by award-winning Chef Pino Maffeo. You can also book a party at the private function room upstairs overlooking the picturesque Marina Bay. That's Victory Point at Marina Bay in Quincy.
Since 1916, the Piantedosi Baking Company has supplied its bread products to restaurants, sandwich shops, and supermarkets throughout New England, around the country, and through food brokers like ProSource in the Caribbean too. ProSource Sales and Marketing, located in Tampa, Florida, distributes food service products throughout Florida and the Bahamas with a commitment to high quality and exceptional customer service. The same kind of commitment that's made Piantedosi Baking Company an industry leader for over 100 years.
Hey guys, Billy Costa here with my good buddy Joe Piantedosi.
You know, Joe, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Close to 40 years.
We've always talked about Piantedosi Baking being 3 generations.
And now it's 4.
I'm seeing Piantedosi bread everywhere now.
Well, we're in restaurants, sub shops, hotels, stadiums. Currently, we're up and down the East Coast in supermarkets. Check with your local grocer. Ask if you can't find it.
It's Piantedosi Baking,
where quality is a tradition.
You know it.
Hey, I'm Joe Piantedosi from Breaking Bread Radio. I'm here with Connor Wright of the Connor Project, and he has a special announcement to make. Connor?
Hi, my name is Connor Wright. I'm 14 years old, and around 3 years ago, I launched Connor's Kindness Project with the help of my grandmother. We started small, but stayed on an incline, now delivering over 5,000 kindness kits to over 30 hospitals and shelters all around New England. We also recently launched our Kids Kindness Club, and have personally led over 200,000 acts of kindness between 10,000 students in over 25 schools. To learn more about our mission and to support our goals to grow national, please go to connorskindnessproject.org. We appreciate your time.
And we are back. You listen to Breaking Bread. I'm Joe Piantedosi. Remember to follow me on Facebook. Breaking Bread with Joe Piantedosi. And now back with actor, singer, entertainer, author, Gianni Russo. So, Gianni, I want you to tell our listeners where you're going to be in just a couple of short weeks here in Boston.
Well, it's funny because you arranged this for me, and we're going to be in a new place, South Boston, that I ain't never been to yet. We'll be at 443 West Broadway. Now, when you told me the name of the restaurant, I thought maybe it was going to be a sit-down. It's called Capo.
Capo, yes, it's a great spot. It's in South Boston, a beautiful venue. They've got an upstairs restaurant bar, but downstairs they have a supper club that's phenomenal. My good friend Rich Damari sings every Sunday night there. He does Sinatra Sundays. Of course, you talked about Frank Sinatra. And that's 5:30 on Sunday nights. But on this particular weekend, it's the holiday weekend, it's Valentine's weekend, and it's President's Day weekend. So it's Sunday, the 16th at 12 o'clock. Gianni Russo is going to be performing live on stage. He's got stories. He's going to sing. They'll serve a great brunch, by the way. The food is phenomenal.
Great film clips. I'll take you historically through my life. All 80 years in 80 minutes. You're going to see clips that nobody's ever seen. It's definitely a show you want to see.
And you sing, and I mean, your stories, you talk about Sinatra, you talk about Brando, you talk about The Godfather, you talk about Marilyn Monroe, okay, who you dated. We're in a PG audience here. You dated Marilyn Monroe when you were a young male, right?
I was 15 and a half.
15 and a half.
I started shampooing her hair at Lily Daché. I was a shampoo boy because I got caught by a truant officer on the street. He wanted to know why I was in school. I laughed at him. I was wearing Brioni at 15 and a half. I had like 5,000 in my pocket.
Yeah.
He wanted to know why I wasn't in school.
And, well, in addition to Marilyn Monroe, you dated Liza Minnelli, right?
Well, I dated a lot of people. Let's not go through that route. I got 10 mothers to my kids. Forget about it. This would be an hour show.
It would be. It would go on and on. But your stories are unbelievable. You worked with the mob in New York City. You were very involved. You were a runner for the mob, right? Frank Costello,
man. The main guy.
Yep.
And we're gonna show you clips, and you'll be introduced to. I bought stuff. I mean, Joe, you haven't even seen it. You're gonna see when Frank Costello met with Joe Kennedy, and how his son became president of the United States. And then how 2 years later they started killing them all.
Okay.
I mean, this show is a no-miss show. The film clips alone is cinema history and news history. I bought it all. It's an 80-minute show. It's so riveting. You got to be there.
Okay.
You got to be there.
And also you're going to be you're going to be selling your book. You've got a great book, The Hollywood Godfather, that you wrote. And it's
right. I'll be signing autograph pictures. We'll do a meet and greet. I'm going to hang around.
Yep, you're going to hang around.
I'll be there all afternoon. So get to the show. We'll hang out and we'll talk.
Yep.
Take photos. We have a photo op. We have everything going on.
Yeah, and I tell you, Capo, I love the place. I do my shtick there once a month, and the food is phenomenal. They have great Italian food. They make their own pasta. They make their own desserts. The bar is unbelievable. The craft cocktails they create, but just the vibe. It's really funny because when Johnny and I said we're friends, and he said he wanted to bring a show to Boston, and I thought of Capo because Capo has that vibe. You go downstairs in this place, it's dark, and you just feel it. You can, and there's pictures of Sinatra that on the walls. They usually run on a few of the TV screens. They run old Sinatra movies.
Oh wow, that's great!
It's a beautiful venue, and it takes you back. It really takes you back to the old. There's nothing like it in the Boston area. This supper club, and Johnny, you performed in supper club at the Tropicana. You in New York City, right? I mean, for years you were.
Oh my God! Well, I opened a club at the Tropicana called Tiffany's. I had Elvis open that, and then a few years later, I opened up Gianni Russo State Street. And I opened that up with Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., and Frank Sinatra for 3 days, and they wouldn't take a dime. And ever since then, that place became a mecca of anybody that was on stage in Vegas came to my club because I served gourmet food till 6 a.m.
That was one of the hottest clubs in Vegas, right? Back in the day?
Oh, my God. Now I could say, because the statute of limitations is over, I stole $5,000 a day from myself for 5 years straight. Do the math.
Oh, you heard it from Johnny himself. That's funny. And then it's funny because the Copacabana in New York City, right, is now a different. And you had dinner with Jared and myself there.
Abra. It's Abra. It's the same place.
Yeah, same place.
Building.
So we
In
met
fact,
you.
We sat at the booth that I used to sit with Costello.
You told
Booth
us that.
15.
You told us that. And we sat there like, wow. You were telling us the stories, and yes, I could listen to you for hours. I've heard a lot of your stories. Sometimes I hear new ones when I'm with you or talk to you, and I mean they're phenomenal. And I'll tell you, any movie buff, anyone that likes, especially the era of Sinatra and Brando and old Hollywood, you're one of the last connections to old Hollywood, Johnny. I mean,
well, I'm 82 years old, and I hit the streets when I was 12, so I'm really like 92.
and in dog years, you're probably even older than that because you've been around for so long. But it's so funny. I mean, and you eulogize James Caan. I mean, I go on and on about your and every time I talk to you, I hear a different story, a different connection, something in your life, and you've incorporated this in this show. This show at Capo.
Wait, you're going to be surprised, Joe, in the audience. I incorporated now President Donald Trump.
No kidding.
We've been friends since 1989. It's all in the show.
Wow. Did you perform
with photographs of him and I and all of that?
Wow.
I mean, this show is amazing. Not because it's mine. I've done it. The oohs and the ahs, and I'm repeating. I'm going back to resorts in Atlantic City with it. They all love it already. So I'm sure anybody that shows up on the 16th at Capo at 12 noon, you're not going to be disappointed. I'll guarantee you that.
All right, so I'm going to give everybody, so you can go on Eventbrite, Gianni Russo, to get tickets. Eventbrite, Gianni Russo. You can also, if you need to call Capo, and Jared, the number of Capo is?
617-993-8080.
Okay, you can call directly if you'd like. And Gianni, you have a website too, right?
Yep, everything's posted up that. Every Wednesday we put up all the events, and they stay up until they're done.
And what is your website, Gianni?
Let me think. Gianni Russo.
And of course, it's Gianni, Gianni Russo.
R-U-S-S-O. Or you can go to the Hollywood Godfather website also.
And you know what? Your book too. Your book is going to be available at Capo because you're going to be signing copies and.
Yeah, I'm bringing copies, and which is interesting. The copies I'm bringing to Capo are the last copies in existence in hardback, because my new book, Mafia Secrets, comes out October 2025.
Oh wow, so that's a few short months away, and
yep.
And those books you mentioned, by the way, they're in my possession, Johnny. You gave them to me.
Oh yeah.
When I was with you last month,
you got them already. Yep.
I took them. They're at my house, so they're under watching, safeguard right here, lock and key, and we'll be bringing them out to Capo. But anyway, you have to come. It's a great event. It's going to be a great day. I look forward to being there and helping you. And tickets are available. And it's a great Valentine gift. As I said, it's a holiday weekend, Valentine's Day weekend. It's a great event. So people have to come and see you. And we'll be there with bells on. Look forward to having you in Boston and hosting you, Johnny. So,
please. Thank you. Always.
So, all right. That's Gianni Russo. You listen to Breaking Bread. I'm Joe Piantedosi. We'll be right back after this short break. Thank you, Johnny.